Devotees, thank you all for joining for BhagavatSanga program. So we have been discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, the prayers of the Personified Vedas, a beautiful chapter. So today we have a special speaker, Veena Mataji, is going to speak a realization on this topic. She has been coordinating this program since the inception of the program. So today we are going to listen to what she has to share. So with that, over to you, Veena Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, devotees. So before I begin, I would like to thank Satyasara Prabhu and Jai Subhadra Mataji for giving me this opportunity to speak today. Today I'll be speaking from the verse 14 and 17 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, Prayers by Personified Vedas. Please forgive me if I make any mistakes. I'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This chapter presents the prayers by the personified Vedas as they glorify the personal and the impersonal aspects of Supreme Lord Krishna. In the beginning of this chapter, King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami about a very important topic. The topic is understanding the transcendental subject matter. His question was, since Vedic knowledge generally deals with the subject matter of three qualities of material world, how can it approach the subject matter of transcendence, which is beyond the approach of the three material modes? To this question, Sukadeva Goswami told him about the conversation which took place long time ago between Sri Narayana Rishi and Narada Muni at Badrikashram. So one time what happened, Narada Muni was traveling to Badrikashram. There he found Narayana Rishi. After bowing down to Narayana Rishi, Narada Muni asked the same question to him, which Maharaj Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami. In reply, Narayana Rishi said how this same question has been discussed long ago among the great sages who lived in Janaloka. It seems one time these great sages asked about the nature of the absolute truth to Sanandana Kumara. We know the four Kumaras, right? Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara. They are born from the mind of the Brahma. So Sanandana Kumara is one among the four Kumaras. These sages, they asked Sanandana Kumara to speak about the absolute truth. Sanandana Kumara told them how the personified Vedas recited the prayers for Lord's glorification just before the creation of the material world. So here you can see in this picture of how the prayers were revealed from one to another, like the same questions were asked, and how Sanandana Kumar recited these beautiful prayers. These are the very same prayers that we see in this chapter. Then when the sages of Janaloka, they heard it, they were so satisfied when they heard these prayers. They were enlightened by the true nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And then Narada Muni, who heard this, he was equally satisfied hearing these prayers. And he went to his disciple Vedavyas, to whom he explained everything he had heard. So this is the brief introduction of how these prayers were revealed to Maharaj Parikshit. So this is the background of how these prayers came. Then I'll begin. So these prayers of Vedas, they begin from the verse 14. The verse 14 goes like this. Shri Shrutaya Uchu Jaya Jaya Jahi Ajam Ajita Dosha Kritahita Gunam Tvamasi Yad Atmana Samavarudaha Samasta Bhogaha Aga Jagat Okasama Akila Shakti Avabhodhakate Kvachit Ajayatmano Charoto Nucharena Nigamaha. It means the Shruti said, "Victory, victory to you, O unconquerable one. By your very nature, you are perfectly full in all opulences. Therefore, please defeat the eternal power of illusion, who assumes control over the modes of nature to create difficulties for conditioned souls. O you who awaken all the energies of the moving and the non-moving embodied beings, sometimes the Vedas can recognize you as you sport with your material and spiritual potencies." Srila Prabhupada's disciples have written a very beautiful purports for these verses. Yet, when we read this, there is so much of knowledge that we gain by reading these purports. In this very purport for this verse, there is a very interesting conversation between the Vedas and Supreme Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti interprets the first words of this prayer, Jaya Jaya. It means, please reveal your super excellence. The word Jaya is repeated either out of joy or reverence. And when Vedas say Jaya Jaya, Lord might ask, how should I reveal my excellence? Shrutis answer by requesting him, they request a lot, to mercifully destroy the ignorance of all living beings and attract them to his lotus feet. Then Lord says, but Maya, who imposes ignorance on the jivas, is full of good qualities. Why should I oppose Maya? Like Lord is asking, why should I remove living beings out of ignorance? So Vedas agree. They say, yes, Maya has all good qualities, but she has taken on the three modes of nature to confuse the conditioned souls and make them falsely identify with their material bodies. Her modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, they are tainted because you are not manifest in their presence. So here we can see, when we are entangled in this material world, we only think of everything with respect to the material world. We don't realize we are soul. In fact, only now that we have this knowledge we are gaining, we understand that soul is eternal and indestructible, and that we are soul and not this body. Otherwise, we are only focused on body. So now back to the conversation of what happened between Vedas and Lord Krishna. So Shrutis say, only you cannot be conquered by Maya, whereas others, like Brahma, are defeated by their own faults. So then Lord responds, but what proof do you have that Maya cannot conquer me? So then Vedas say, the proof lies in the fact that in your original state, you have already realized the perfection of all the opulences. At this point, Lord might object that just by destroying the ignorance of the jivas, we will not bring them to him. They also need to do devotional service. In fact, when we read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, we see in so many verses where Krishna himself is giving the importance of devotional service. In Bhagavatam 11.14.21, he says, only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one obtain me. By engaging in such pure devotional service, even the dog eaters can purify themselves from the contamination of this slow birth. That is the power of the devotional service. I'll go to the next verse, which is verse 70. Dritaya eva shravanse asubrito yadi te nuvidam mahadaham adayo nidam asrajana yad anugrahataha purusha vidonvayo charamo na maya deshu yaha sadasta param tvam atayad ishva avasheshamritam. Translation. Only if they become your faithful followers are those who breathe actually live. Otherwise, their breathing is like that of Bellows. It is by your mercy alone that the elements, beginning with the Mahatattva and false ego, created the egg of this universe. Among the manifestations, known as Anandamaya and so forth, you are the ultimate one, entering within the material coverings, along with the living entity and assuming the same forms as those he takes. Distinct from the gross and subtle material manifestations, you are the reality underlying them all. So I will cover a few points from this verse. Here, Personified Vedas are saying, Dear Lord, it is important that living entities be engaged in Krishna consciousness. They should always be rendering devotional service by hearing and chanting and executing your orders. If a person is not engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, it is useless for him to exhibit the symptoms of life. So here we can see how the Vedas are emphasizing the importance of doing the sincere sadhana. Devotional service starts with hearing and chanting and following the regulative principles. When I was reading this, I was thinking, why is it that we should hear Krishna Katha daily? Why should we chant daily? Like festivals come once in a while, Ekadashi comes once in 15 days. Why can't the same Krishna Katha be done once in a while? Why can't we just chant once in a while on these auspicious occasions? Why should we chant every day? So when I was thinking of it, the answer I got is, it's not easy for us to develop attachment to someone or something overnight. It has to be developed over time. You have to constantly develop and practice it, day in and day out. So I wanted to share an incident that happened to me a few years ago. I'm not really a person who likes to keep pets, and I've never had one. And one time, my daughter won a competition and she got a small goldfish. And we had no idea how to take care of the fish. So unfortunately, in less than 1 week, sadly, it passed away. In just that 1 week, I developed so much attachment to it. I would keep feeding the fish. I probably fed it so much, and that could be the cause for it. But I would keep feeding it all the time, and I could keep looking at it all the time and see it going round and round and trying to talk to it. And then when it passed away, it was just so painful. It was just 1 week of its presence, and I just got so attached to it. So I was thinking, when we dedicate our time, our energy, and our efforts, and all our hard work to something or someone, automatically we develop attachment. We feel invested in them. And we start developing this deep sense of connection and affection towards them. So I could relate to why it is so important for us to hear about Krishna every day, chant the holy name every single day without fail. Because ultimately we have to develop Krishna Prema and remember Krishna at the time of the death. If we haven't thought of Krishna our entire life and just been busy doing our everyday mundane activities, then how will we think suddenly at the time of death? Because that is not determined when it's going to come. It can come any moment. So how will we know in that deep pain we are, when we are at that moment, how will it just automatically come? It won't. So we have to chant every day so that Krishna's name is on our lips all the time. Any good thing happens, bad thing happens, it's Krishna's name should come. And this chanting, by chanting, it will help us connect with Krishna. It's a direct association with him. And it is recommended sacrifice for this age. We don't have to go to forest, stand on one leg, eat only fruits and leaves. All we have to do is sit in the comfort of our house and repeat the Mahamantra. It has been made that easy for us. It's not even difficult to pronounce Sanskrit words. It's very simple, but very powerful transcendental words. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're asking Krishna to please accept us and give us pure devotional service. We are here because we envied Krishna. We wanted to enjoy being away from Krishna. Now we are praying to Krishna so that we can love him and serve him. Our ultimate goal is to perform pure devotional service on the lotus feet of Krishna. This place we are staying right now is not our real home. We are just guests here, just like being in a hotel. Someday we have to go back to our home. Our home is Golok Vrindavan. We all need to go there. And the way to go there is by performing the pure devotional service sincerely. Srila Prabhupada has guaranteed to us that we will go back to Krishna in this very lifetime by sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness. Now let's look at the next point mentioned in this verse. It says, a person without Krishna consciousness may be compared to a bellows in the blacksmith shop. What's a bellow? It's a big bellow, is a bag of skin which exhales and inhales air. And a human being who simply lives with the bag of skin and bones without taking to Krishna consciousness and loving devotional service is no better than the bellows. It's like just we are inhaling, exhaling, just living a life, just like this bellow. And another example given is a person who's not a devotee of the Lord and lived for many, many years is compared to a tree which lives for hundreds of years and has no fruits at all. What's the point of such a tree? I remember when I came to Austin, when we moved, we were looking at all the trees and there were hardly any fruit-bearing trees, like almost none. And in fact, I was thinking, what's the use of these trees? Of course, now I understand the harshness of the weather and how it's not conducive for them to grow here. But the point is, a person who does not utilize his life to do devotional service, then he's just wasting his time. Day in and day out, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Human life is such a precious gift. And conditional souls have got this precious gift. We have such a precious gift. But by turning away from Lord, we are committing spiritual suicide. In the words of Isopnishat in Mantra 3, it says, Asurya nama te loka andina tamasva savritaha tamaste pretya vikachanti eke chatmaha no janaha. It means the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, he must enter into the planets known as the worlds of faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Here, Asurya means to be obtained by demons, and demons are persons who have no devotion for Supreme Lord Vishnu. Human life is different from animal life. How? Due to the heavy responsibilities which is there in human life. And people who know these responsibilities and who do the activities with respect to these responsibilities are suras or godly persons. And people who neglect the responsibilities or who don't even know about it, they are called asuras or demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these two types of human beings. This human form that we have is very, very rare. It's the rarest of the rare. We have to always remember that the soul gets a human form after many millions of years in the cycle of repeated birth and death. If today we all are here reading and listening to Krishna Katha, it's because of the mercy of Krishna, Gurus, and the Vaishnavas. Then there is this analogy given, right? This material world is like an ocean, and the human body is a boat. And it is designed in such a way that it can cross the ocean. And all the Vedic scriptures and our acharyas, they are the expert boatmen. And the facilities of the human body, what is being given, it's like a breeze. It will help the boat sail and go to the desired destination. Now think of it. If with all these facilities, we still don't utilize this life for self-realization, then we are the killer of the soul. We are not giving the freedom to the soul to get away from this material world, and we end up getting it entangled again and again in this material world. Isopnishat is warning us in clear terms. The killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. Krishna describes the situation as Yantra Rudani Mayaya. This comes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 61. It means riding helplessly as a passenger in a mechanical vehicle. Krishna as a Paramatma is there in the heart of every living being, and he is directing. When we take birth and get a new body, we forget all our past deeds, but Super Soul knows everything about our past, present, and future. Super Soul witnesses all of our activities. Take, for example, a person is seated in the high-speed car, motor car, and he goes faster than one seated in the slower car. But both the drivers are same in both the cars. Both are human beings only. So one person had the desire for fast car, so he got a vehicle according to that. Similarly, based on the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature will give us a particular type of body. And That may be according to the past desires and what we deserve. And so a living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of Krishna and should remember we are always under Krishna's control. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham riti sanniveshto matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. It means I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. When you take a new birth, we forget everything from our past life. That is because of the super soul. Just imagine, one fine day, if we remembered every single detail of our past thousands of births, how chaotic our mind will become. Incidents of past life, relations of past life, current life incidents, all this information which is stored. And if we remember all this, our life will become a mess. So, Supreme Lord has arranged it in such a way that we are given remembrance as much as we need, even in our current life, actually. We don't remember everything. We tend to forget things, what happened in our earlier life. We just remember the main key important memories. And we even forget how painful something was. We just say, time is healer and just move on. It actually works. Because as time goes, we just get over the pain. The super soul from within grants our desire to forget. Sometimes we remember something from our past because of our false ego. We don't want to forget. If someone has deeply hurted us, we cannot let it go. That hurt. Why? Because we are thinking of ourselves as body and not the soul. Srila Prabhupada beautifully explains in this purport of this 17th verse of the 5 levels of ego covering the self. Here, if you see in this image, within the body, there are 5 different departments of existence known as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. These are enumerated in the Brahmananda Vali of Taittiriya Upanishad. In the beginning of life, everyone is food conscious. A child or a baby animal is satisfied only by getting a nice food. As soon as the baby is born, the first thing that is required is food. This state of food consciousness in which the goal is to eat is called Annamaya. Anna means food. After this, one lives in the consciousness of being alive, of not being attacked or destroyed, of having a sense of security. When all of this is available, then one thinks, okay, I am secure now. I am happy. This stage is called Pranamaya, or consciousness of one's existence. After this stage, when one is situated on the mental platform, that consciousness is called Manomaya. The material civilization is primarily situated in these 3 stages: Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. For the first concern of every civilized person is economic development. Then comes the defense against being annihilated, and comes the mental speculation. That is a philosophical approach to the values of life. So these are the 3 stages. Now then what happens if by evolutionary process of philosophical life, if someone reaches the platform of intellectual life and understands that I am not this body, but I'm a spirit soul, then he's situated in Vijnanamaya. This is the 4th stage. So now that he knows I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, he comes to understand Supreme Lord or Supreme Soul. Then what happens? He develops the relationship with Supreme Lord and he executes devotional service. That stage of life is called Krishna consciousness, Anandamaya stage. Anandamaya is a blissful life of knowledge and eternity. It is said in Vedanta Sutra, Anandamaya Bhashyat. It means the Supreme Brahman and the subordinate Brahman, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the living entities are both joyful by nature. So, as long as the living entities are situated in the 4 stages of life, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, they are considered to be in the material condition of life. But as soon as one reaches a stage of Anandamaya, so basically if someone goes to Anandamaya stage, he becomes a liberated soul. So in conclusion, we have to have this unflinching faith in Krishna, Gurus, and Shastras as we progress in this Krishna consciousness path. If we do that, then there is no doubt in us going back to Krishna. Like, to give an exam, we have to prepare for the exam. We just cannot go to the exam and give it. We have to study day and night and prepare for it. Only then will we pass successfully the exams. In the same way, we need to prepare ourselves to go back to Krishna, because that is the ultimate goal for us. That is our final exam of life. And to do that, we have to prepare. We have to prepare to serve Krishna before we go there. We have to develop the attachment for Krishna. We have to develop the love for Krishna. We have to attain that prema stage. Krishna is waiting for us. He wants us to come back home. So let us pray today that we will sincerely practice and do our sadhana by chanting, reading and hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, eating prasadam, following the instructions of gurus, and associating with devotees. By doing this, our mind will always think of Krishna and never forget Krishna. And by this, we will surely attain the Krishna prema. There is no doubt in that. With that, devotees, I would like to end my presentation here. Thank you all for listening and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Veena Mataji. That was a really wonderful class. I'm going to just recap what I heard. You said so many wonderful points. So first, you started off very nicely explaining how the prayers of the personified Vedas are revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam. So beautifully you explained that. Then you also explained how devotional service is so powerful and how the Shrutis or the Vedas are emphasizing doing sadhana regularly every day, pretty much. So unless we chant the holy names and hear about the Lord constantly, we cannot develop prema, love for Krishna. And you nicely explained it is not an overnight process. Then you also contrasted that point, explaining how a person who is not practicing bhakti, practicing devotional service, is simply wasting away his life or her life. And you beautifully quoted from Sri Isha Upanishad, they are called killer of the soul, referring to Shastra. So that was very nice. Of course, you throughout your class, you gave references from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita to support all of your points. So it was a great class overall. Thank you very much for that, Mataji. Hare Krishna.